For 8 long
Steady your
years,
hearts,
Julius
men of
Caesar
Rome.
waged a relentless campaign across Gaul, crushing rebellions, expanding Rome's reach, and carving his name into history. 10 legions, sometimes 11, marched without rest. They fought through forests, rivers, and entire nations, pushing the limits of endurance and discipline. But everything led to this moment, a single stronghold, a hilltop fortress, nearly impossible to break. Here, Roman strategy would reach its peak, a masterpiece of war that would echo through history under one name, Caesar. And inside that fortress, the Battle of Alesia. Over 80,000 men were trapped inside Alesia, starving, exhausted, and running out of hope. They were led by Vercingetorix, the one man who dared to challenge Julius Caesar. And here, everything would come to an end. For years, Gaul had been slowly consumed by Rome. Campaign after campaign, Caesar's name spread fear across the land. Tribes fell, cities were taken. What had once been a fractured territory was being forced under a single command. But Rome made a mistake. They underestimated the pride of a people who did not see themselves as conquered, only waiting for the right moment to strike back. And that moment came. From the mountains and plains of Gaul emerged an unlikely leader, young, determined, and carrying something Rome had never truly defeated, the power to unite. His name was Vercingetorix. For the first time, rival tribes stopped fighting each other and stood together against a common enemy. But he wouldn't fight Rome on its terms. Instead, he burned everything. Fields destroyed, villages abandoned. The land itself turned against the invaders. If Rome wanted to conquer Gaul, it would first have to survive it. The legions kept marching, but now they marched through emptiness, through hunger, through hostility. Every step cost more than the last. Then came the blow. At Gergovia, Caesar faced something rare, defeat. His legions, used to victory, were forced to retreat under pressure. For the first time, the illusion of Roman invincibility cracked, and in that moment, everything changed. What had been a campaign of conquest became a fight to preserve Rome's prestige. But Caesar was not an ordinary general. He pulled back, he adapted, he rethought everything. Reinforcements were called, strategies reshaped, and above all, he made a decision. He would no longer simply conquer Gaul. He would crush the rebellion completely. The pursuit began, relentless, unforgiving. Vercingetorix started to retreat, not out of weakness, but calculation. He knew he could not defeat Rome in open battle, so he chose the ground, the moment, and the place where everything would be decided. A fortified settlement on a high plateau, surrounded by valleys, naturally protected, a place where an army could endure and wait. That place was Alesia. And when the gates closed behind the Gauls, Rome arrived soon after. But what would happen here would not be just another battle. This would be the final clash between resistance and domination. At first glance, Alesia seemed untouchable. Steep slopes, natural barriers, strong defenses. A direct assault would have been a disaster. Caesar saw that immediately. If he couldn't take the city, he would trap it. What followed was one of the greatest feats of military engineering in the ancient world. Instead of attacking, the Roman legions began to build. Day after day, the sound of battle was replaced by the sound of digging, cutting, constructing. This was not just a siege, it was the creation of a prison. A continuous line of fortifications slowly surrounded the hill. Deep trenches, hidden stakes, towering watchposts, and inside Alesia, the truth became clear. They were not being attacked, they were being cut off. Each passing day meant less food, less hope, less time. But Caesar knew something else. Gaul was still out there, and it would not stay silent. So he made a second move. While one line trapped the enemy inside, another began to rise facing outward. A second wall. Because he wasn't just preparing for a siege, he was preparing for an army. Soon, reports began to arrive. Movements in the distance. Tribes gathering. Forces assembling. Then, confirmation. An army was coming. And not a small one. Columns of dust filled the horizon. Tens of thousands of warriors were on the move. Gaul had answered the call. Inside Alesia, hope returned. Outside, tension grew. Because now Caesar wasn't just surrounding an enemy, he was trapped between two armies, one in front of him, one on the way. And when they met, there would be no escape, no reinforcements, no retreat. For the first time, even Rome was at risk. Inside the walls, time was no longer measured in days, but in food. And it was running out. Supplies vanished. Animals disappeared. Hunger was no longer a threat. It was reality. Vercingetorix and his leaders faced a brutal decision. Not strategic, not honorable, but necessary. The gates opened, and those who walked out were not warriors. Women, children, the elderly, people who carried no weapons, only the weight of a war they never chose. There was hope that Caesar would let them pass. For a moment, it seemed possible, but no order was given, no gates opened. They could not move forward, they could not return. Trapped between two worlds, they were left there. Days passed, and before the eyes of both armies, war revealed its cruelest face, not in battle, but in silence. Then, the horizon moved. At first, just dust, then shapes, and finally, an army. The Gallic relief force had arrived. Tens of thousands of warriors filled the landscape. Inside Alesia, it looked like salvation. To Caesar, it was the moment he had prepared for. The first attack came quickly, a test. War cries echoed as the Gauls charged the Roman lines. Arrows filled the sky, stones crashed against defenses, and the lines held. But this was only the beginning. Soon the full plan unfolded. From the outside, the relief army attacked. From the inside, Vercingetorix struck. Rome was being crushed between two forces. Day and night, the fighting never stopped. Exhausted soldiers fought through mud, blood, and fear. The Roman lines bent, nearly broke. Then came the decisive moment. The Gauls found a weakness, a section where the defenses were thinner. They attacked with everything, from both sides. For a moment, it looked like Rome would fall. And then, Caesar moved. Not from a distance, but into the heart of the chaos. Reorganizing, reinforcing, holding the line. And finally, he made his last move. The Roman cavalry charged, fast, precise, devastating. They struck the flanks, where the Gauls were most vulnerable. The impact shattered them. The relief army hesitated, then broke, and just like that, it was over. Inside Alesia, hope died, because the world outside had walked away. Silence fell. The next morning, the gates opened again, but this time, not for battle. A single figure rode out, Vercingetorix. He approached Caesar and stopped. Slowly he dismounted, removed his weapons, and laid them on the ground. Not as weakness, but as the end of a fight that could no longer continue. In that moment, the war was over. But what happened at Alesia would echo through history. If you made it this far, this story held you. And this is just one of many battles that changed the course of the world. If you want more cinematic, realistic history like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because in the next video, we're diving into another story where everything could have turned out differently.